most extremist organizations have been trying for years to find IO means to try and weaponize, whether it was anthrax, whether it's spores, whether it's any other chemical bio attributes to try and weaponize it. And once it gets weaponized, that's where the trouble will start for us.
Yes. Now, obviously, as you mentioned, this is far-fetched, and some would say that is obviously could even border on what is termed as a conspiracy theory. But when we're talking about biotechnical warfare, we're talking about biological warfare, which has been a subject for a very, very long time. And as you mentioned, on the one hand, where you could possibly have extremist groups that may take advantage of the situation in the spread of COVID-19. But also, Dr. Craig Moffat, with all due respect, there are also views that you have got major players around the world that want this type of bio warfare, and you have those views, and some of them have discounted it as conspiracy theories, that this was a man-made pandemic, and in the interest of a certain group of people who are bent on reducing the world population.
Yes, we've heard those theories. Actually, prior to you phoning me now, I just saw an article now where there's actually a WHO team that flew to China yesterday, and this morning part of their project is to make sure that they can prove that this was not man-made, that it was found in Wuhan, as they said, just to negate all these conspiracy theorists. Because in life, there's for every yes, there's a conspiracy theorist. For every this, there's a conspiracy theorist. So yes, there are other theories, and some people do believe it. But I suppose, if we go with science and we believe the science and we believe that this is a virus, then if it is engineered and we find out, yes, But I think at this present moment, I sleep better by believing that it wasn't man-made, it wasn't engineered.
Yes.
But
Well, look, I think I suppose all of us have obviously got our own understanding. We have got our own views on, what this virus is about. But the mere fact that this is a silent enemy, it's a silent killer, it's a hidden enemy at the end of the day. And irrespective of, our understanding and what we actually believe in, the threats obviously are there. It is real. We've heard over and over again over a period of time where various methods have actually been used to achieve various objectives. And whether we're looking at it from an extremist perspective or whether we're looking at those that just want to hold on to power, that those want to control, because this is what COVID-19 has done. It's exposed the entire world at this point in time in terms of those that are benefiting as a result of the pandemic, and while the rest of the world, where we see billions right across the world that are in a state of despair and desperation.
Yes, I think what we should, if there's a silver lining in all of this, right? I think the silver lining is that so far you can't make the virus in a powder form and carry it across. You see, and if any extremist organization or some world power that was seeking, as you said, to try and limit population growth and all that stuff, is that fortunately so far you can't carry the virus like in your pocket and go with it and infect others. You have to infect yourself also. If there is a silver lining there. So but I do think that we need better messaging. And if the messaging is done properly, so for instance, if the WHO team in China now come back, their reports should be made public. Everyone should know that this is what they found. And even if they find to say that it wasn't found there and they don't have conclusive evidence, they should share that with the population and with everyone so that we can all know that, listen, this is what it is. Because I think a lot of the misinformation, and I think COVID has done a lot of that now. There's a lot of misinformation. And the misinformation is because obviously now with recruitment, it can't be done face to face. So you have this online misinformation. There's so much misinformation. Misinformation is the problem because you find people are at home in lockdown and they read up all these things and it's just that the dangerous, the misinformation. That's why you have to have positive messaging to make sure that people understand that this is what the pandemic really is about.
Well, I agree
And
with you. We need to have positive messaging, and interesting that when you speak about misinformation and even disinformation, and that misinformation is not only about the individual sitting behind his computer screen and reading up whatever he can on the internet. Also, one needs to understand what sort of misinformation or disinformation or inaccurate information, for want of a better term, is being fed. Because last year around December, we actually met with a journalist, a world-renowned journalist, and one of the issues that he raised is he says we are being fed with information on a daily basis by governments, by people in power. But he says, is anybody questioning that information? Is anybody interrogating that information? Are we just accepting? Are we just accepting what powers are the powers that be are actually telling us? Now, how much of misinformation or disinformation or inaccurate information there may be in terms of what we're being fed?
And there's the problem. So that's why I'm saying if the messaging from the top is that, for instance, let's just simplify this. If government wants us to adopt a lockdown, let's say, right, they need to explain to us why. They need to show us proof that the policy of lockdown is to flatten the curve, is to make sure that the hospitals have ICU space, and give reasoning for it, right? If they just lock us down with no reasoning to it, then disinformation, misinformation, abusive information will happen. You see? So that's why I go back to the point of their messaging, because at some point it has to come down to the basics where you have trust, and you trust that the government is doing this because they have highly paid scientists, highly paid analysts, highly specialized scientists, highly specialized analysts that understand why they are implementing policies or why they're formulating policies to be implemented. But a policy is only as good as its implementation as its acceptance also.
Yes.
So if that whole chain of events isn't followed properly, then we find a situation where we doubt government. And once you start doubting government in times of crises, then I think that trust deficit will have a problem, because then you have all this misinformation going around. And obviously, conspiracy theorists, it's easier for them to accept a conspiracy of whatever sort it is, just because it's more interesting reading, I suppose.
Well, certainly. And just, I think finally, one term or one word that seems to feature very, very prominently is the word capture or captured. And the key question is in relating or in propagating a certain narrative. People need to be captured. And we're not only talking about COVID-19, but we've heard about the term captured, in journalism terms, in terms of embedded journalism, in terms of, repeating a certain narrative, in accepting the narrative, in ensuring that people buy into a certain narrative that is being thrown out as well. So there again, one needs to be careful as well, to what extent are possibly people captured, and these are people in power who have the ability to influence people's minds, people's thinking, and towards a certain direction.
But again, then we get to the trust factor. Is that we should, when the president last March said, listen, we are doing this because of A, B, C, and D, I think our trust in him was high, obviously, right? Because we all adhere to it. But obviously, as time goes on, people start losing that trust. It's because they thought it would just be a month, 2 months, and everything would be fine. But when it comes to things like, obviously, the vaccine issue, is that people have these beliefs, which is very strange. Because you find someone that smokes that won't take the vaccine, which that doesn't make sense to me, right? However, I to some degree, I agree with you. But at the last, I'd like to believe that we should build trust. And once we build trust, I think then messaging and understanding why things are being done for us or to us is better. But yes, there may be incidents of journalists being captured, wrong messaging coming across. Yes, I mean that we've seen across that. Whether it's Western media, whether it's for instance, let's just look at this now. Is that when they say that the South African variant, suddenly it's become worse than the initial one. If you've seen some of the media, is that now that the African version is worse than the UK one, when it's been proven that the UK one is 70% more contagious than ours. You see, so yes, I agree with you there. Is that there you have media that makes us look bad because it makes them look better, which is also wrong. But then South Africa should have countermeasures against that, so that our people can understand that. Listen, don't believe everything you read out there. Have some judgment. Have a sift of sorts to sift information.
Well, Dr. Craig Moffat, thank you very much for that. Quite an interesting discussion with you this morning. Thank you for your time with us.
Thank you for your time, sir, and have a good day.
You too.
Safe. Cheers.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice. For over 80 years, Osman's Taj Mahal have been perfecting the art of the perfect blend of spices, pure, aromatic, and well-seasoned. Spices to tantalize your taste buds. From creative cuisines to gastronomical gourmet goodies. From exotic odors to traditional dishes, Osman's Taj Mahal have remained synonymous with quality spices and condiments. Taj Mahal rice, beans, and lentils. Try our range of chili bite mixes, rose and ilachi syrup, our quick and easy biryani pack, and our traditional range of spice blends. Osman's Taj Mahal. There is no substitute for quality.
A strip of land with over 2 million people blockaded for 13 years. Healthcare is on its knees, food is scarce, and water is inadequate. COVID has wreaked havoc in the lives of the people of Gaza. 53% of the population live below the poverty line. 80% of Gaza relies on external aid to survive. And 20,000 children are now orphans. The future is bleak. Please, don't forget Gaza. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education. From books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media. Humanitarian journalism.
The time is just gone 8:51 a.m. and we're going across now to be joined by Sharon Akambaram, head of the Refugee and Migrant Rights Program at Lawyers for Human Rights. We're talking about female immigrants who are being targeted by police officers in central Johannesburg. Sharon, good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Right, Sharon, let's talk about the plight of women, female immigrants in particular, and apparently the police officers in central Johannesburg allegedly extorting bribes from them and preying on them. Just give us some background to this, please, Sharon.
Okay, so I think, just to break it down, it is women who are either refugees or asylum seekers or traders, circulating between the different countries in Southern Africa that come to our country for either for protection or, for the reasons of livelihood and related problems that they're experiencing in their home country. And what we've experienced through the work of walk-in clinics, and obviously under COVID, we're all working from home using internet to try and get access to people as they try to seek a legal recourse. And this is a phenomenon that has been, and a trend that has been going on for a few years now. And it's a feature of the vulnerable women who are targeted and solicited for bribes, or in instances there's violence against these vulnerable women, and all under the guise of immigration officers or police wanting to check whether they have regular documentation and whether they are legally in the country.
Now, obviously, looking at Lawyers for Human Rights, and you obviously condemning the arrest, the detention, and this whole question surrounding bribes as well. And we know that these women are vulnerable, and in many instances, whether they are legally in the country or they're not legally in the country, at the end of the day, they have certain rights, they have certain basic rights, which need to be protected, Sharon.
Absolutely. And I think that is the point, that this behavior is unlawful. The police have a job to play. The immigration officers do have a job to play. And there's very clearly set out policies. Our immigration policy is very clear, and it actually is based on the premise of respect for human rights and respect for human dignity of all people in our country. And this is particularly because of our past. We know of the Aliens Act. We know of how there was the two-door policy, a separate way of treating whites or rich people, and how the exploitation of Black African labor in our country, and how the restrictions on movement of Black people. So the policies are incredibly progressive. There's one of the clauses, Section 34, sets out very clearly procedure when you are approaching someone to check whether they have legal documentation. That person has to have the right to be able to say, look, I have papers and I don't have them on me, and go and get them to prove that they have legal papers, or that they must appear before a magistrate's court to ensure that the process, not whether they're legal or not in the country, but whether the process of the policy enforcement was done according to the policy. And I can say to you categorically that this infringement of people's rights and the failure to apply the policy is rampant in our country amongst police officers and immigration officials.
Yes.
Targeting, I would say, Black African foreign nationals.
The irony of it all, Sharon, is, we come from a history. And when we talk about restrictions, we know we've all learned about the past laws of the past, where South African blacks were subjected to exactly the same thing in terms of producing some form of documentation. The past and their movements were also restricted. And we are now becoming guilty of the very same practice that we were victims of once upon a time.
Absolutely. And I think it raises the broader question of how do we manage movement of people? We can't stop the movement of people. This is inherent with human development since our inception on this planet. So, unfortunately, our government and the Department of Home Affairs has adopted a policy of arrest and deportation as a way of managing movement. And as you say, and I think this is important to underline, that it's targeting Black African peoples coming from the African continent. And more than that, I think the problem with this is it's also in the context of a country that is struggling with xenophobia. And for me, this form of treatment of Black African people, it makes me want to say there's institutionalized xenophobia within the police force, within the immigration officers. And we do need to deal with this seriously. There needs to be proper training, and there needs to be proper oversight to ensure that the manner in which police officers and immigration officers, that they carry out their enforcing the law and respect our constitution.
Yes, and also in this instance, we're talking about women who are vulnerable, and all this talk in this country about gender-based violence and the like as well. And we have these women who are being subjected to this, and clearly this also falls within the definition of gender-based violence.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that if our president is calling gender-based violence the second pandemic in our country, then it leaves a lot to be desired with respect to how Black African women are treated at the hands of law enforcement agents.
How are the authorities reacting, or are these just renegade police officers that are operating? What about the authorities? What about higher up the hierarchy and the level, Sharon?
We have, over the years, made various efforts engaging the South African Human Rights Commission, engaging various stakeholders to try and get access to work with the police, to assist with providing training. We have lawyers and we have paralegals and we have people who are trained in understanding the law and policy. And we would like to work with government, but unfortunately, it has been we've come against a shut door. And I think that this is really serious, and it's a terrible indictment on our country. And until the government realizes that they have to work with civil society. They have to work with organizations that are engaging in protecting the rights of refugees and asylum seekers and migrants in our country. This problem is not going to be resolved.
Well, Sharon, we're going to have to leave it at that. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. But as always, we thank you for your time, and we pray, we wish, and we hope for your safety in these unprecedented times. Please take care.
Thank you very much, and the same to you and all your listeners.
Sharon Kambaram, head of Refugee and Migrant Rights Program at Lawyers for Human Rights, was us this morning, which brings us straight on to 9 a.m. We come back. There is quite a bit more to talk about. We'll be talking about school readiness, the National Readiness Survey. We're also talking to Dr. Abdul Karim Al-Ghoni about the tensions between Ethiopia and Sudan, and also the State Capture Commission to lay a criminal complaint against Jacob Zuma.
And get up again, get up again. Cause when the time comes and you're standing before your Lord, that's the only time that you truly win. Cause you never gave up, never gave in. So get up again, get up again. Fist clenched, mouth dry, but you cannot speak out, can't even cry. Somehow you feel like you're dead inside, cause no one hears you. No, that's not true, cause Allah's there no matter where you are, He sees you. So He allows you to shine, you're gonna be fine. Bring out the hero hidden inside, so don't give in, you fight till the end. The reason we fall is to get up, get up, get up again. You kick down to the ground and you hurt and all hope is gone. Never ever give up, no you can't. Dust yourself off and get up again, get up again. Cause when the time comes and you're standing before your Lord, that's the only time that you truly win. Cause you never gave up, never gave in. So get up again, get up again.
Yo. Yeah, in that sermon of life, when that pain starts to preach and pound on the pulpit, please never forget. No surrender, no retreat, never forfeit. Lest you surrender and retreat to His lordship. Knocked down to my knees to bleed like a mosh pit. Each blow received, I heave like I'm nauseous. My needs received, flowed like a faucet. Stand close to God, but move so cautious. Find solace in the land of the lawless. When fighting through the pain feels like it's all six. And if you're down and kicked onto your face, how great God wanted you to prostrate. Or if you're broke and stressed when the bills due, don't fret, God is just building you. And to a strong husband or a wife, please hold on, keep God in your life. And if you ever feel hurt, alone in the dark, let the pain break through the soil of your heart. Let the teardrops turn your seeds in the crop. A mustard seed of faith, all it takes just to start.
You kick down to the ground and you hurt and all hope is gone. Never ever give up, no you can't. Dust yourself off and get up again, get up again. Cause when the time comes and you're standing before your Lord, that's the only time that you truly win. Cause you never gave up, never gave in. So get up again, get up again.
Trust in God's plan. Get up and try again. Get up until you win. Get up until the end. Trust in God's plan. Get up and try again. Get up until you win. Get up until the end. Trust in God.
You gotta trust in.
Get up and try
God
again.
has a plan.
Get up until you win. Get up until the end. Trust in.
All six. And if you're down and kicked onto your face, how great God wanted you to prostrate. Or if you're broke and stressed when the bills due, don't fret, God is just building you. And to a strong husband or a wife, please hold on, keep God in your life. And if you ever feel hurt, alone in the dark, let the pain break through the soil of your heart. Let the teardrops turn your seeds in the crop. A mustard seed of faith, all it takes just to start.
You kick down to the ground and you hurt and all hope is gone. Never ever give up, no you can't. Dust yourself off and get up again, get up again. Cause when the time comes and you're standing before your Lord, that's the only time that you truly win. Cause you never gave up, never gave in. So get up again, get up again.
Trust in God's plan.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Making news at 9, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has applied to the Gauteng High Court to have the term of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture extended to the end of June. And the UN's top court ruled yesterday that it can take on Iran's bid to overturn US nuclear sanctions reimposed by the administration of former US President Donald Trump. Good morning, I'm Tabile Dumam. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has applied to the Gauteng High Court to have the term of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture extended to the end of June. The Commission's term had already been extended to the end of March, but Zondo has now approached the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria to have this extended to the 30th of June. Zondo explained in his application that the extension was necessary as the Commission had not yet completed its work due to disruptions caused by the national lockdown. He estimated that the Commission was roughly 3 months behind schedule, hence the request for an additional 3-month period. Provinces are finalizing plans for the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. KwaZulu-Natal has already outlined its plans for when it receives the jabs on the 14th of February. The Eastern Cape is planning to begin the rollout next Tuesday. A challenge for the province will be keeping the vaccines cold. Yesterday, Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize said that the COVID-19 vaccine rollout will be managed using the electronic vaccination data system, which was launched yesterday. Meanwhile, the Commission of Inquiry into Allegations of State Capture resumes its hearings this morning. Taking the stand today is former African National Congress Member of Parliament, Dr. Makhosi Khoza, who will give evidence related to parliamentary oversight. The Commission will also hear evidence from the DA's former member of the Portfolio Committee on Transport from Minnie de Freitas and a parliamentary engagement manager at the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, Matt Johnston. Earlier this week, the Commission heard how Bosasa and its subsidiaries, Pezulu and Sondolo, continued to receive contracts despite concerns raised as early as 2008. In his testimony, Democratic Alliance MP and member of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, James South, said the Department of Correctional Services continued to renew the contracts after the SIU flagged serious tender irregularities, and the Auditor General and Standing Committee on Public raised concerns. Meanwhile, former Standing Committee on Public Accounts Chairperson Themba Godi told the Commission that the lack of monitoring mechanisms rendered the work of Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts futile. In local news, despite the eThekwini municipality undertaking significant refurbishment to the Mobeni Heights crematorium, there was still more that needs to be done before it could be reopened once again to the public. For nearly 7 years, the facility has been dysfunctional and at one point only operating with one furnace, which forced some residents to make use of the private crematorium in a clearer state, and that meant that more costs for the bereaved families. For the past 3 to 4 years, the crematorium has not been working. In February last year, it was reported that a new cremator had arrived from the US and had cost the city 3.5 million rands. However, to date, nothing much has changed, to the frustration of residents who were already paying more for COVID-19 funerals and now had to go to a private crematorium. In September, the city said that it hoped the facility would be reopened in October following the installation of the multi-million rand cremator. Yesterday, Municipal Person Msawa Kemaisela said that the refurbishment of the Mobeni crematorium had been completed last year. In more news, a former security branch police officer, Roloff Venter, has conceded that during the 1980s, political detainees had been tortured at the then John Foster Square police station in Johannesburg. Venter had been testifying virtually at the inquest into the death of anti-apartheid activist Neil Agate. Agate had been assaulted and tortured by the security branch and was found hanging in his cell in February 1982. Venter said that he had never met Agate, even though he had interrogated other political prisoners at John Foster Square at the time of Agate's detention there. Roloff Venter spent almost 30 years in the security branch. He says says he was based at John Foster Square for about 6 months from December 1981, but that he had never interrogated Neil Agate. During cross-examination by the state prosecutor, Fenter denied physically assaulting detainees, but has admitted to depriving them of sleep and subjecting them to forced exercise. And finally, the UN's top court ruled yesterday that it can take on Iran's bid to overturn U.S. nuclear sanctions reimposed by the administration of former U.S. President Donald Trump. Iran's foreign minister swiftly hailed the decision as a victory in the case launched 3 years ago at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Tehran alleges that Trump breached a 1955 friendship treaty between the two countries when he pulled out of a 2015 nuclear deal to the dismay of European allies and reactivated the sanctions. Washington had said that the Hague-based ICJ did not have a jurisdiction and must throw out the case. It also argued that the sanctions were necessary because Iran posed a grave threat to international security, but judges at the court rejected all the U.S. objections. A final ruling on sanctions by the ICJ set up after World War II to rule in disputes between UN member states could still be months or even years away. The 2015 nuclear deal saw Tehran limit its nuclear powers and let in international inspectors in return for an end to 2 years of sanctions by the West. After Trump pulled out, Iran invoked the 1955 Treaty of Amity, which predates the 1979 Islamic Revolution that overthrew the pro-US and severed ties with the United States. Taking a look at temperatures this morning, Durban 22 to 28, Richards Bay 23 to 31, Ulundi 20 to 32, Ladysmith 18 to 28, and Margate is at 22 to 27. Here in Pietermaritzburg is at 19 to 29, and Newcastle is at 18 to 27. For Al Ansar News, I'm Tabile Duma.
Audio stream across the world on Radio Al Ansar.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
कर दे मेरे आका अब नजरे करम मैं तो बेसहारा हूँ दामन भी है खाली नबियों के नबी तेरी शान है निराली मैं तो उम्मती हूँ ऐ शाहे उम्मम कर दे मेरे आका अब नजरे करम गम के अंधेरों ने घेरा हुआ है आका दुश्वार अब जीना मेरा हुआ है बिगड़ी बना दो मेरी तैबा के वाली बिगड़ी बना दो मेरी तैबा के वाली नबियों के नबी तेरी शान है निराली मैं तो उम्मती हूँ ऐ शाहे उम्मम कर दे मेरे आका अब नजरे करम जिसको बुलाया गया वही अर्श बरी है आपके सिवा ऐसा कोई नहीं है जिसकी ना बात कोई
Time is gone, 9:14 a.m. As we welcome you back to the show, we stay in the company of Salam Media, Al Ansar listeners, Durban, Peter Maritzburg, One Nation 88.9 FM. We welcome you to the show this morning. We've got the financial update coming up. We still have got the school national readiness survey that's coming up as well. We're talking about rising tensions between Ethiopia and Sudan, and also the State Capture Commission laying criminal complaints against Jacob Zuma. But right now, we're going across to Nafisa Seder. This financial update is brought to you by Rendry Jewelers. Nafisa, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Uncle Inayat?
Alhamdulillah, very well. How are you doing this morning?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well.
All right, Nafisa, let's talk.
Yield risking is benefiting the rand, which continues to test the 14 rand 90 to the dollar mark for further strength. The rand started the day at 14 rand 93, however, is now trading weaker at 15 rand to the dollar, 20 rand 40 to the pound, 18 rand 1 cent to the euro, and 4 rand 1 cent for 1 Saudi Riyal. And yet another drop in the gold price today. The Kruger ran at 30,220 rand. The Zahab medallion is 28,950 rand. The dinar coin is 5,910 rand, and your quarter dinar is 1,550 rand. There's also been a giant increase. Quickly, I want to mention that Rendry Jewelers has silver dirham coins available for 375 rand. And if you want more information, please do give us a call, inshallah. And that's it from me this morning, Uncle Inayat.
Well, Jazakallah so much for that, Nafisa, for your time with us this morning. And the update. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
What makes Rendry Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Rendry Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Rendry Jewelers to make it special. www.rendryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Rendry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
A strip of land with over 2 million people blockaded for 13 years. Healthcare is on its knees, food is scarce, and water is inadequate. COVID has wreaked havoc in the lives of the people of Gaza. 53% of the population live below the poverty line. 80% of Gaza relies on external aid to survive. And 20,000 children are now orphans. The future is bleak. Please, don't forget Gaza. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Kiki's, the taste with a kick. Our revamped exclusive restaurant and takeaway now opened. Kiki's strives to serve you and your family with a wide variety of delicious meals. Enjoy our famous chicken, shish, burgers, pasta, pizza, and many more weekly in-store specials. We offer Friday buffet and bripet with a difference. We cater for corporate functions, valimas, and events. Purja facilities provided. Our exciting competition gourmet menu and new menu to be released at our launch. Visit Kiki's at 235 Matthews Mayue Road, Old Stemford Hill Road, Durban. Call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the taste with a kick.
Discover the Africa of your